So if I'm in a relationship with someone, I want to make sure that relationship is two ways, right? I offer certain values to that thing, but I want to see the potential for myself to grow. I want to see the potential for myself to see a future. I want to see the potential for myself to be challenged, to be excited, to be stimulated. And the reality is if we just ship music, videos, merchandise, whatever it might be, at an audience and expect them to love us in return, it's going to be kind of a harsh reality when it comes to the day where they break up with us because we thought we were doing something really great. And what we realized is actually they weren't getting what they needed out of the relationship. One of the things that I think the expectations in the social media ecosystem are right now is that I constantly need to be giving away knowledge and information in exchange for fandom. And the reality is the demands on that are heavy as an artist, right? To answer DMs, to answer back on the comments and the requirements of every single person that's asking me questions all the time are high. If we're talking about any other industry where somebody has the level of experience that we do and what we're going through, they monetize that part of their business, right? The knowledge that they have in their brains, the experiences that they've had, the things that they've had, people pay them money to write books. People pay them money to do keynote lectures. People pay them money, to go teach different groups of people. And in music, for some reason, we feel like we need to give this away for the purposes of like engaging a fan. And the reality is your knowledge and what your experiences and what you've done is one of the most valuable commodities that you actually have. And if you want to offer this to your audience, I would really encourage thinking about the ways in which you might be able to create some things that go in front of the pay gate and some things that go behind. Maybe if people want access to me to answer their questions, maybe there's a fee associated with that. Maybe you do have to wait until you come to the show and pay for the meet and greet to come back and ask me. Maybe there's platforms that I could go on that allow me to transact that value. Not all of this has to be given away for free. And you can actually create a really significant demand for your audience if you're willing to just say, look, this information is valuable. It's valuable to you. It's valuable to me. And I want to make sure if I'm giving this away, that there's some return on the investment in that sense. And so it's something that I personally really believe in a future state to help artists figure out how to monetize their ecosystems, is that knowledge has a lot of power and you can utilize that and create paywalls or create barriers in certain ways that allow your audience to go through a journey with you. And then if they really want access to you, there's a fee associated, and that's okay. I know an artist in LA that sells the opportunity for him to pick out records for you and then ship you a record a month of stuff that he thinks you should listen to. So as being a fan of him as an artist, he tells you what he's influenced by. You pay him a flat fee of $30. He agrees to not spend more than $10 on his own. And so he has margin of $20 per subscriber to this offer. And then he just goes out record shopping and picks up records to give to his fans. And then that's a very personalized music discovery thing that brings people more into his world and his influences. So there's so many different creative ways you can think about productizing different things. That could be from, subscription tier products. That could be to deeper merchandise options. That could be to different levels of access. That could be to, in some cases, there's not a lot of artists that want to be teachers, but lessons can be quite a valuable ecosystem. That could be sound packs and sample packs. That could be, instruments or companies that you work with or utilize their material and affiliate sales for those. There's lots of different ways to think about a financial structure, even for an independent artist. And it's more about a menu of options, and then you choose. All right, so some of the things you can think about as an artist, if I had to kind of create a menu for your superfans or for my superfans, if I was a philosophical artist, is I could think about access, right? One of the big things superfans want is access to me. So is that in the form of meet and greets? Is that in the form of curation? Is that in the form of online communities? Is that in the form of one-to-one interactions? Is that in the form of shared knowledge? There's all these different access points that I could actually sell and commoditize. There's also a content portfolio you could think about in podcasting or in live streaming or in different types of gated content that you can think about offering to your audience that has a little bit of a paywall behind it and offer somebody something more. You could think about things like tipping and crowdfunding. I know in the Nordics in particular, there's a little bit of a barrier to this idea of like asking my fans for money. But if you look at, Korea, for example, and what's happening there, the fans very much have a clear relationship financially with the artist. The artists talk about what it takes to get to where they are, and the fans feel like they, are a part of that journey. So in some cases, things like crowdfunding or things like asking people to be a part of making new art or being a patron of what you're doing, right? There's a platform called Patreon just to allow fans to be patrons of helping you create what you're doing. So, there are additional subscription products like Patreon or OnlyFans in that scenario that you could work with. Lots of different kind of customizable merch considerations you can think about. So if I really went down all the different things I could think about in merchandising, it's homemade products, it's secondhand products. It could be, exclusive products only for a select group of fans. It could be limited edition drops. It could be collaborations with other brands, a local shop in my city. I know an artist who did a local drop of 50 skateboard decks with a local skate shop. In some cases, the revenue share of that is something that would have never been, on the table had they not thought about, creatively about some of those things. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you can think about. It's more about understanding when I get people down to that place and they're ready to buy, what are the products that I want to have on my shelf that they could? And then the options are sort of endless with creativity. I even see artists that are embracing fan art really effectively, right? Their fans are creating custom artwork, or they're encouraging their fans to create custom artwork, and then they're agreeing to sell that custom artwork on their shop, and then they split the revenue 50-50 with the artist who created it. So the artist who made this piece of fan art is making 50%, and me, as an artist, I'm making 50% of that thing where I really didn't generate anything new. I just embraced the fact that this is something representative of my art and my community that I want to support. I would think about what is it that they would want. If you don't know, don't worry about asking. Like, they're happy to answer you. They'll tell you what they would be. Like, they'll tell you if you made a long sleeve shirt, there's 50 of us that would buy it. Well, okay, then I'll make 50 long sleeve shirts and sell 50 long sleeve shirts. Like, don't be ashamed to ask your audience if you don't know what to sell them. Like, hey, I want to start introducing some new products into our merch portfolio. What are some ideas you guys have? If people feel like they have a voice or they get to contribute or collaborate to that experience, their likelihood to buy because they're along that journey is so much higher. So there's lots of different creative ways to approach it. You just have to think about, like, what are the needs of your audience? What do they want? What are they looking for? And then start with a few products there and experiment, figure it out, test the market, and then continue growing. This is how any small business figures out their way into the world. How any small business would start in this scenario is you would think about who the audience is, who the addressable audience is, right? What types of things they like, or what are they specifically into? Where do they spend their money on a day-to-day basis? How much are they willing to spend on certain products? And then what things, might excite them or generate some sort of additional value for them beyond the product itself. Maybe I can do this full time. I don't have to have a second job. I can make this my reality. And I think for some people that feels so far away. Like, oh man, I have to get signed by a label. I have to get radio play. I have to, get millions and millions of streams on Spotify. And the reality is with a smaller number of more dedicated fans and the right products available to sell to them, you actually might be able to get to a sustainable number in a nearer term place that allows you to put more art and more, creativity out into the world.